Well, the table's getting turned tonight. Donald Trump is now suing.
Whoopi Goldberg seems to have got herself in a bit of hot water.
But I'm sorry, Whoopi, your victim card is being declined.
For years, The View was the loudest talk show on TV, but now it's officially over. After insane lawsuits, shocking accusations, and a legal firestorm they never saw coming, ABC finally pulled the plug. So, what went so wrong that one of daytime TV's most iconic shows crashed and burned?
This is not good karma, you know? That's what I was thinking at the time. I was two tables away from Trump, and I'm looking, I'm like, man, this is too much.
If there was one thing The View was famous for, besides the constant bickering and eye-rolling, it was their no-holds-barred take on politics, especially when it came to Donald Trump. For years, Whoopi Goldberg and her co-hosts made it their daily mission to tear him down, his policies, his supporters, and even his family. They didn't just criticize him in the way late-night hosts or pundits do. They took it to a whole new level, throwing around accusations like confetti at a parade.
What they made out of that, because that's the kind of guy that if you tell him he can't do something, he's going to just keep trying.
One of the most infamous moments was when Whoopi openly accused Trump of being involved in shady financial deals without a shred of proof. She acted like she had some inside scoop, even though every so-called scandal she brought up had already been debunked. But that didn't stop her. She went on and on, making claims about his business empire, painting him as some kind of criminal mastermind controlling the justice system. It was wild.
Well, just look at the way they've attacked him with just using the legal system, like this thing in New York where the 34 different felony counts that were essentially misdemeanors.
And it wasn't just Trump himself who was in their crosshairs. His family took a hit too. Ivanka Trump? She was labeled corrupt and power-hungry. Don Jr.? Oh, they had a field day with him, pushing conspiracy theories about his business dealings. Melania? They even dragged the former First Lady into it, questioning her every move, making unfounded claims about her past, and insinuating that she was unhappy in her marriage. There was never a moment of fairness, just nonstop attacks, half-baked theories, and a clear agenda to take Trump and anyone associated with him down.
A few passing jokes are fine, but they twisted the knife big on Trump in that. And you could see Trump just getting like angrier and angrier and more upset.
But here's the thing about making up stories. Eventually, people start calling you out. And in this case, it wasn't just social media users debunking their nonsense. It was Trump himself, along with a long list of others who decided enough was enough. At the top of the list, Donald Trump. Unlike other politicians who might have just brushed off the slander, Trump hit back hard. His legal team wasted no time filing a defamation lawsuit against The View, targeting Whoopi and the network itself. The lawsuit argued that Whoopi had knowingly spread false and damaging statements about Trump and his family, presenting conspiracy theories as facts on national television. His lawyers came in strong, proving that her accusations had no legal standing.
Yeah. Most people, after the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit and this lawsuit and all the other ones, the insurrection thing, the Georgia thing, all these different things, they getting kicked off of Twitter, most people would have just like, this is too much, I can't take this.
But Trump wasn't the only one. Out of nowhere, Carrie Underwood got dragged into the mess too. Now, Carrie isn't someone you'd expect to be caught up in Hollywood drama. She's one of the most successful and respected country artists out there. But Whoopi, for reasons no one really understood, started throwing out bizarre claims about Carrie being involved in manipulating the entertainment industry. She suggested that Carrie had the power to blacklist other artists and rig award shows in her favor. It was so ridiculous that even some of the other View hosts looked uncomfortable when she said it. Carrie, who had spent her entire career staying out of unnecessary drama, didn't let this slide. She immediately filed a lawsuit, demanding millions in damages for defamation. And let me tell you, Carrie's legal team didn't come to play. They tore apart Whoopi's claims, proving that there was absolutely no truth to what she had said. It was embarrassing for The View, and it made it clear that Whoopi's reckless comments weren't just costing her credibility, they were costing the show big time.
The place that made these refused to make them for me.
Really?
Yes.
What? Oh,
No.
And then there was Joe Rogan. This one was particularly brutal. Rogan is known for speaking his mind, but unlike Whoopi, he actually backs up what he says with research, expert opinions, and facts. But The View couldn't stand that. They went after him hard, accusing him of spreading dangerous misinformation and even linking him to a fake discrimination scandal. Whoopi claimed that a Staten Island bakery had refused her service because of her politics and that Rogan had supported the bakery. The only problem? The bakery had never refused her service. It was all a complete lie. Lawsuits aren't cheap, and The View learned that the hard way. Fighting over 30 defamation cases was an absolute financial disaster. ABC, which had backed the show for decades, suddenly found itself hemorrhaging money just trying to keep up with the legal fees. Settlement after settlement drained their resources, and it wasn't long before advertisers started pulling out too.
If I believe I have the right to make up my mind to go perform someplace, I believe they have the same right.
Of course.
And so
That's
I have
true.
to, I have to support.
Big brands don't like being associated with controversy, and once it became clear that The View was toxic, sponsors started dropping like flies. Companies that had been loyal to the show for years wanted nothing to do with it anymore. Without ad revenue, The View was running on fumes, and the network was forced to make some tough decisions. But it wasn't just about the money. The internal drama was just as bad. The lawsuits created chaos behind the scenes. Some hosts wanted to fight back, while others wanted to apologize and try to salvage what was left. The tension was unbearable, and eventually, it led to some high-profile departures. Even some of the show's biggest supporters started distancing themselves, realizing that this was a sinking ship. By the time the dust settled, it was obvious. The View wasn't going to survive this. What was once one of the most influential talk shows on television had completely fallen apart.
Hey, you know who? Stay away from the stairways. Because, people put the leg out to trip you going down the stairs. Watch out.
When The View started crumbling under the weight of lawsuits, the audience reaction was anything but subtle. People had been watching the show spiral for years, but this was something else. Social media exploded with reactions. Some people were cheering, others were in shock, and a few die-hard fans refused to believe it was happening. But let's be real, it had been coming for a long time. Viewership had already been on a steady decline before the lawsuits even hit. A lot of people had gotten tired of the show's constant political rants, the loud arguments that went nowhere, and the fact that it seemed less like a talk show and more like an echo chamber for one-sided opinions. It wasn't just conservatives tuning out. Moderate viewers, independent thinkers, and even some liberals had started losing interest. When every episode felt like a hit piece rather than a discussion, people stopped watching.
The degree to which they attacked Trump at that White House Correspondents' Dinner was really it was so over the top. It was like making everyone uncomfortable.
Really?
It was really over the top.
But once the lawsuits became public knowledge, the exodus was even faster. Ratings tanked. Nobody wanted to watch a show that was now more infamous for defamation cases than for any meaningful conversation. And if you checked social media, it was brutal. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, everywhere you looked, people were either making fun of The View or calling out the hypocrisy of it all. It wasn't just conservatives who were celebrating, either. Even people who didn't care much for Trump were saying, well, maybe they went too far. The lawsuits, especially the ones from people like Carrie Underwood and Joe Rogan, made it clear that this wasn't just a political thing. This was a reckless media issue.
But apparently, his wife has different thoughts on the reproductive rights after posting this video plugging her memoir.
And the mainstream media? They had a field day. Some outlets tried to downplay it, treating it as just another controversy, but even they couldn't ignore the facts. Major networks started discussing whether talk shows had gone too far. Were these daily opinion fests actually just breeding grounds for misinformation? Should hosts be held accountable for what they say, just like journalists? Suddenly, The View wasn't just a talk show. It was a case study in media ethics. Some analysts defended the show, saying that opinionated hosts shouldn't be expected to fact-check every word they say. Others weren't so forgiving. They pointed out that The View had positioned itself as a credible voice on major political and social issues, which meant they should have taken accuracy seriously. At the end of the day, though, public opinion was clear. The View had lost its credibility, and once a show loses that, there's no coming back.
I've called him vice president, I called him president, because I don't know what JD is doing.
At ABC, executives were scrambling. For years, The View had been one of their go-to daytime shows, pulling in ad revenue and sparking just enough controversy to keep people talking. But now, it was a liability. The lawsuits weren't just hurting the show, they were hurting ABC itself. Every lawsuit meant more legal fees, more negative press, and more pressure from advertisers who didn't want their brands associated with a sinking ship. When companies started pulling their ads, that was the final straw. ABC could have tried to ride it out, maybe done some damage control, but deep down, they knew it wasn't worth it. The show was too far gone.
As part of that settlement and have to issue an apology.
The decision wasn't made overnight, but once it became clear that the lawsuits weren't stopping anytime soon, ABC made the call. The View had to go. Of course, they didn't just pull the plug immediately. That would have made the network look bad. Instead, they framed it as a natural transition. They hinted that The View had run its course and that they were exploring new programming options. But everyone knew the truth. It wasn't a graceful exit, it was a forced one. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.